Welcome to the most listened to golf in the world, the Fairways of Life show, on air, online, and around the world, with the most candid interviews, unforgettable stories, taking you beyond the ropes. Here's your host, New York Times best-selling author, Matt Adams.
As we welcome you into the Fairways of Life show from the PXG Custom Studios. You've never played like this before. Log on to pxg.com. I am still on the road. We're actually broadcasting from, this is the Courtyard by Marriott where we were on Monday as well. I love this place. If you're in Stamford, Connecticut, this is a beautiful place to stay. For me, I don't know, I feel like I'm coming home. The people know you at the front desk. In fact, I'll tell you an honest story. When I came in this week, I came in on early Sunday, flew up to get here as early as I could to see every minute of the finish of the Masters, of course, and they didn't have my reservation. It wasn't in the system. It wasn't their fault. They just, our people didn't do it on our end. And they were like, no problem. We've got you in your regular room, blah, blah, blah. How long are you going to stay? I was like, I'll be here for all week. All right, yeah, you got it. So it's really cool. I'm up at NBC Sports because I'm hosting Golf Central this week, which has been really fun and really cool to kind of talk about everything in the wake of Rory's Grand Slam achievement, of course, his Masters victory last week, and getting all the reaction of all of that. Now, Scottie Scheffler obviously is paramount in terms of his reaction, because not only did Scottie win the Masters last year, the very next week, this week, the RBC Heritage, do you guys remember? He won that too. So we start today's show, just a wee little teaser from Scottie Scheffler, and we'll get deeper into Scottie's comments after this.
You know, I'm sitting there in 18 fairway last week, and Rosie's was at 10 under. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going at this pin. You know, I'm going to try and hold this. And then he makes it, and you're like, okay, well, the tournament's over. I lost. For instance, if Rosie misses that putt and I hole it, huge adrenaline rush, and it takes something out of you, you know, kind of like the adrenaline rush you get from getting arrested. Like that takes something out of you. And, you know, it's so as far as being spent, I'm not nearly as spent as I was last year.
I was saying this yesterday to my producer. Arthur Volpe is my producer this week for Central. And I was like, is it just me, or are you guys noticing that Scottie, maybe it's comfort, but Scottie is a lot more, how do I phrase it, colorful than he used to be? You're going to hear it when you hear the full length of his comments that we have put together for you. John edited it to like 6.5 minutes or so. And there's a lot more to Scottie. He's willing to give more than I think he used to before. And I don't know whether that was a decision on his part, or whether it was a comfort on his part, or whether it was him getting used to, say, being able to say something without worrying about saying something that he doesn't want to. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, you know, like a politician or someone that would be speaking publicly, and they have to make sure that they have their mind disciplined enough that they don't blurt out something that will destroy their campaign. I can't imagine what that would be with Scottie, but he certainly seems to you. Are you noticing that, Dom? Does it seem to you too that the Scottie of spring of 2025 seems different than the Scottie in the prior years, at least in terms of his interaction with press and with fans, et cetera?
1,000%. I don't even think it's up for debate. I would say that it's noticeably different. And I do think a lot of it has to do with the general sort of PGA Tour push for that, stemming from Justin Thomas's sort of message to the players, like, hey guys, we got to be better. I mean, the walk and talks that they've been doing during tournament play now are more frequent, and also I think they're a nice addition. They're more, not only are they more frequent, but a lot of times you're getting guys that are in contention. And even more exciting and different and unique is you'll have someone who's not playing well, who agreed to do an interview prior to, they're playing like dirt, and they stick to it. They say, hey, how you doing? You know, let's go down and check in. You know, what's going on? You're playing the fifth hole. He's like, I'm playing like crap. It's bogeyed the last 3 holes. And you hear them, you know, in the moment discussing the struggle. And that's interesting, I think, to the audience. It certainly is to me. So I do think that there's been an effort made for a lot of players Max Homa comes to mind. Michael Kim comes to mind. Guys who are starting to open up and bloom a little bit and really share a lot. Now, the thing that hasn't
Rory,
happened.
I mean, the list
Yeah.
is getting pretty long
Yes.
of players.
What
Other
hasn't
than
happened, though, is they're
Colin
not doing these
Morikawa
long
complained
form
about it,
interviews.
but everybody
Matt.
else seems happy. What's
They're
that?
not doing the long form interviews. That's the one thing that hasn't happened. They're not coming on shows like ours or these other shows and doing 45 minutes and
I
getting
knew
to know
this
them.
was going to become about Dom. He's like,
It's not
they're
about
doing the
Dom. I'm
interviews.
just frustrated. Let me be angry, will you? By the way, let me read this. This just came by the wire 4 seconds ago. This is breaking news in theory. This just came from the PGA Tour moments ago. The PGA Tour announced today that Maverick McNeely
Long-form interviews will
and-
now be allowed.
and Keith Mitchell have been elected co-chairman of the 2025 Player Advisory Council by the Tour's membership. The PAC advises and consults with the PGA Tour Policy Board of Directors and Commissioner Jay Monahan on issues affecting the Tour. McNeely and Mitchell will replace Peter Malnati and Webb Simpson on January 1st of next year. And then it continues. So Andrew, I know Andrew's got a list of who's on these committees and stuff. He's going to make some adjustments. You can throw it in there, Andrew. You can make adjustments while we're talking, but it's the advisory council, but you can put that in there. That's fine. So right now, this is the current advisory council. And what I just read, if you look to the right there, the co-chairman, if you will, Peter Malnati and Webb Simpson are now going to get replaced. This just announced minutes ago by Maverick McNeely and Keith Mitchell. Now, the reason this stuff is important, Matt, and I don't want to get into the weeds, and you're going to explain it much better than me, but with everything going on between Liv and Piff and the Tour and the discussions of what may or may not be, this group of people that you're looking at and the board, Andrew, which Andrew can put in there, the PGA Tour Policy Board, these are the people that are directly involved in the decision-making about how things move forward and what is the right fit for the future of the game of golf. So this is actually incredibly relevant, Matt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's interesting to me. It's interesting because Peter Malnati, the perception is that Peter Malnati has served as a balancing voice against a board that is being essentially controlled by the players, and the players who have formed a block in terms of mentality, and mentality leads itself to negotiations and to posture. And that is that if there's going to be any type of reunion of the tours, of the players, then the people who left got paid a lot of money and want to come back and play back again the PGA Tour for a lot of money. That player block that I was telling you about, this is from reports that I've heard behind the scenes. That player block is saying, well, why should they get their cake and eat it too? Right? You've got these other players, we're superstars, and we stayed. We didn't take the big money. Now you could look at that from another side and go, well, wait a minute, didn't you guys benefit from what they did? And there'd be some grumbling and probably some gnashing of teeth before they would all have to admit, yeah, of course we benefited from it. The signature event that's going on this week is an example of benefiting from it. The smaller fields, the no cuts, the guaranteed checks are all means and methods of benefiting from it. But I believe there still is some bad blood. And that's what this is a reflection of. And so having voices like Peter Malnati and Peter, there's a constant discussion, and I've had this conversation with you guys a million times. There's this constant discussion when they talk about what they're doing and why. And they always say, we just want what's best for our now investors, sponsors, of course, and fans. And I always go to that last part, whether we're talking about it in the context of rules changes, massive changes in the structure of the rules relative to equipment that I don't feel benefits the average fan at all. In fact, it hurts you because of what the top 1/10% are doing in the game. So I don't understand that. And I always ask you a question like, who represents you, right? Who's your voice? And I still stand by that question. Who is the voice of the fans? Who should be the voice of the fans? Because none of the rest of this works without you guys. And so the sense that I have from what Peter provided there in terms of a balance was a voice that said, guys, in as much as you want to make sure that there is some form of financial equity, call it, don't forget about the fans, right? And when the ratings were getting hit significantly, particularly in 2024 as compared to prior years, there was a sensitivity towards that. And everybody seemed to be singing off the same hymn sheet saying, yeah, we got to make sure that, we do what we can to unify the game and bring the best players in the world together more than just 4 times a year, right? But now the ratings are up consistently and significantly, which was a question that I was trying to ask yesterday to Billy and Curtis of why. Why in 2025 are the ratings up? What has changed? And I don't mean that question to be flippant. I mean, we all probably could answer incredibly accurately. I was just curious what their opinion was about what was going on. So that change in the board, new people coming on when
No, you can bring me in, Andrew. Hey, Matt, we lost Matt's audio, so I'm picking it up. Look, he's still talking. We can't hear you, Matt. We can't hear you. But he was really on a roll there. He was on a huge roll, making a big statement, I think. Andrew, put that board back up that I was eating.
I'm here,
I was
Don.
in the middle of eating when he cut out. So now
I don't know how much I don't know how much
I
you
had to
lost.
throw it.
You missed of me.
Well, we just left you on the air for like a good 30 minutes, just going. No,
Yeah,
we
but
did. We lost you for a couple seconds there. That's all. But I know you were on quite a roll there, talking about the impact that this might have,
What I'm
and
saying is it's much more
your
significant
concerns
than
about the
people
average
think.
fan, the people, if you will.
Yes, because it's much more significant than what people think. You've got 2 brand new people coming on to this position, and they're going to be up against people that have been there for a long time, people that have already consolidated power and mindset, and people that have a position of how does this take care of the best players in the world? How do we give people what they believe that the people want? Which I think leaves out the window where we get to see players evolve right before our eyes. It's as if all of the superstars were born superstars right out of the womb. One of them maybe was. So it's in terms of prospects for unifying the game. I think it's detrimental currently. And detrimental could just be a further delay, but from what I'm hearing, with the mindset and the strength of personalities and the role as a counterbalance that Peter was able to play in a lot of these discussions, I think we're seeing it right now in a lot of the message points that are coming from the inside, at least from the PGA Tour side, which is to say, relative to unification and putting a deal together with PIF, there's kind of the comments that we hear where they go, well, we don't really need them. Is that because they're flush with $1.5 billion from the Strategic Sports Group? Is it because the ratings are going up now? Is it because you've got your first men's major of the year and players who play on the PGA Tour have won and done well at the top of the leaderboard and certainly done well relative to the balance of the top 20? So in other words, is there a sense in their minds of a shifting of the power? And what does that do? Will that cause a triggering of an arms race again? Et cetera, et cetera. So I saw a quote that someone quoted Brandon Chambly saying that, I'd have to paraphrase it because I can't remember the exact quote, where he was quoted as saying essentially that the PGA Tour is starving them to a slow death. That's my words, but that was the impression I had of the quote that I was reading. And I don't know if there's merit to that or not. That's his perception. He has in his opinion, and everyone has opinions. So I'm not taking that away from. I'm just telling you that.
Matt, can I play devil's advocate for a second?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask sort of a complex question. and this is not necessarily how I feel. I'm curious what you think about this. I think, my opinion, is that the golf audience is never going to grow rapidly and get massively large. It just isn't. The amount of people, if you're speaking about the United States, that really like golf and watch golf, they interact with golf on television. They're going to watch the RBC Heritage this week. That number is between 2 and 4 million. Now that's fact. You can look at the ratings and the TV viewership over the last 3 or 4 years, even prior to Live. That's who watches golf. That's the number. Now, obviously, you've got the Masters and the Open and the U.S. Open and the PGA and the majors. And if Rory shows up or Spieth or if Tiger's there, those numbers go way up. For those 3 or 4 or 5 events a year, that's sort of an exception. It's not a real stable number. So my question is, what is the difference between having the best players play every week, like the RBC Heritage, in a signature event, quote unquote, or not having the system that the tour had in place for decades prior, where every week is a little different and the purse is what it is? Both, at least in my opinion, on both fronts, you're getting 2 to 4 million. That's what you're getting. You're never going to get 8 unless it's the Masters or the PGA or Rory's going to win or whatever. That number's not, it doesn't seem to be going up and up and up no matter what. Even though everyone wants to talk about how it is, that is what it is. So I guess my question is, all the efforts being made by the non-Peters on the board to make it top tier guys, I don't see how that's going to dramatically impact the ratings. And when it comes down to it, Matt, isn't that all this is about? Because the higher the ratings are, the more the money comes in, the better the sponsors are, the more the interest is. That's what this is all about. Am I wrong?
Well, it's definitely, you're partially correct in my mind. When you're talking about the ratings, you mentioned the Masters, and just to give it its full credit, ESPN had record ratings on Thursday and Friday. As you can see, the graphic that Andrew put up there, the 12.707 million viewership was up 33% from last year. That's CBS. And the coverage peaking at 19.543 million viewers between 7 and 7:15 was the peak height of it. Now, for golf, those are NFL type numbers, and that the only time that happens all year is the Masters. And that goes to the question that I was asking Curtis about yesterday. Is it because you can tell I'm in the city here if you can hear the sirens driving by me out on the streets, the trucks? That goes to that question of, is it because the Masters is so good and so compelling that it drives those kind of numbers? In other words, could another event get similar numbers if they had the same compelling content? Or is it because there's 9 months from the last major to the Masters and people are starved for content? The Ryder Cup, for example, gets very good ratings. That's once every 2 years. So there are the outliers where you get these numbers. What you're talking about in terms of 2 to 4 are and this is important to underscore here, you're talking about the network weekend broadcast average numbers. That's not what they get on the pre-rounds. The numbers are just not that big. So the network numbers are there. What they primarily are trying to do with this, in my view, is by having a limited field with no cut, that is an exclusive field, is to be able to go to sponsors and say, okay, XYZ sponsor, XYZ bank, or whoever it is. Yeah, because we elevated you to a signature event, of which they pay dearly to have that privilege. We now can guarantee you that you're going to have big names for the weekend because there's no cut. They're going to be there. So here's a look at signature events from 2025. So that was something that they could take back to their sponsors and say, because the sponsor is going to look at it and go, oh, if I've got a diluted field, how do you expect me to spend all this money? There's whispers and grumbling of some of those events where they're being told, well, you've got to have, you can't have an event on the PGA Tour that doesn't have an equivalency with a purse with other events in your class. And there's some sponsors that are pushing back on that. Another thing that impacts this overall conversation in terms of philosophy is, have you noticed when there's always that list of constituency, and it usually goes, players, however they define the investors, players, the investors, sponsors, and fans. That's usually it. Have you noticed what's tended to be missing in the game of golf right now? Anywhere, both sides, all sides. And it's charity, right? So one of the cornerstone foundations of the tour for all these years was charity. Now I believe in my heart that came from the heart, that was using the game of golf to help other souls. People that would have more of a cold, pragmatic look at it and go, yeah, but it also had an impact on tax status, right? And now that the Strategic Sports Group is there and they have this new entity that is a for-tax entity, do they need the benefit of the tax-exempt status as much, right? These complex questions. So I'm only mentioning that because my hope is, and on some level my belief is too, because players do so much for charity. They all do it privately and quietly too, even with their own events, etc. My hope is that the charitable component of what the game's been able to do for many, many, many years, decades now, that continues to be intact, because I think that's one of the greatest attributes of the game of golf at every level, not just at the highest tier. Because when they talk about the $4 billion a year raised for charity through the game of golf, again, it goes to my earlier comments, the vast majority of that money is raised by you guys. It's raised at your local clubs. It's your Monday or Tuesday or whatever days that you have these charitable events. That money is predominantly raised by you guys. So anyway, I didn't mean to get too deep in the weeds there with all that, Don, but that's a really interesting development.
I think it's a very, very interesting development, and I think the way you're framing the discussion is even more interesting. And that's why I was asking the question. Again, I don't understand all the layers here. I just don't. I'm just not smart enough. But it's fascinating to watch it unfold the way it's unfolding. And you're talking about maybe charity getting lost, if you will. I also think there is a little bit of the fans getting lost in this as well. I really do. And whether, again, because I don't look at the ratings being helped or hurt. Again, I think that number of 2 to 4 is what the number is. That's what it is. Now, you're showing the Masters numbers, which were astronomical, totally NFL numbers. But that was a historic, crazy Rory event. The same way Tiger in 19, Tiger in 97. When those things happen, then the numbers are insane. That's not a representation of reality of golf. It's a moment in time.
For the Masters, though, in fairness. The Masters does the best numbers in the game, which lends itself to that question that I already asked about, is it the Masters or is it because we've been starved for majors, et cetera, all of that goes into it. But they always do incredible numbers, and they always do the biggest numbers. That's just who the Masters is, and that's what they do. So, yeah, it is definitely of interest. Before I forget to ask you here, Dom, did you do a question of the day?
I did, yeah. It's sort of around what you've been discussing for the last 10, 15 minutes. Is golf in a better place right now today than it was 4 years ago? Yes or no?
4 years ago.
Yeah, prior to all of this noise.
Yeah, I was going to say
completely prior to all the noise. Yeah, 4 years ago, basically, there was no noise about LIV, no discussion about LIV. None of this existed. It was just sort of business as usual in the golf space, professionally, the professional golf space. Is it in a better place? And I notice, by the way, Matt, that I didn't say professional golf or golf on TV or amateur golf. I just said generically, openly, golf. And right now, 82% are saying it is in a better place today than it was 4 years ago. And I think that's an interesting response.
Yeah, I'd love to know how people define that.
I mean, I think it's And we'll get people on the show. We have a busy month coming up for our program, but when we have time and things settle, National Golf Day is coming up at the end of April. We'll get numbers coming in. Once we get into like mid-May, late May, we'll have some people on to talk about the amateur side of the game, Matt. I have no doubt that the playing of golf, the rounds of golf, amateur golf, recreational golf is probably the healthiest it's been in the history of our sport. But I think
if
it's
that's the context, I get it. Yeah, okay.
yeah. I'm saying some people might be looking at that question that way. I mean, I did it open ended for a reason, but if we're talking about professional golf, I think there's a strong argument to be made that it's not in a better place right now than it was 4 years ago. But I think you could argue both ways. So I mean, there's a reason why I framed it that way. I think it's an interesting question, but right now the answer is a hard yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would if it's approached in that broad a spectrum, I would definitely say yes as well. I think as you said, the recreational side of the game, and coming from that side of the game as well as the equipment manufacturing side of the two facets of my prior career, I would definitely say that it's healthier than it's been. Now, everyone points to COVID as being the triggering point where people realized, hey, this is a great endeavor. It gets me outside. It gets me socializing. It's great exercise. Gets me some sunshine, some fresh air. All of those attributes are paramount and discovered and hopefully glorified in these reflection of these numbers. So yeah, that's all good. I know the facilities. I talk with a lot of friends that are operators or course owners. I think the other people around us start to roll their eyes after a while because we immediately get into those conversations. And I'm always interested in kind of talking about shop in terms of, what are you bringing in? Do you pre-order in bulk so you can get a lower rate, or do you wait and you buy the clearance stuff so it's 6 months old to a year old product, and then you can sell it at a better price than the guy down the street, but it may not be the brand spanking shiny new one. It's just a few months old by comparison, all that kind of stuff. I think it's fascinating. And to that question, I also think you need a mix. But there's so many companies, just as an aside, there's so many companies that they need to get their new products out there, and they need to do it in some cases because they're publicly traded and they need to show quarter over quarter performance. And so if you're one of the people in the industry, it's usually people that have been around for a while, where you can sit back and you can wait. And oftentimes you can buy, you don't need super extended terms. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they get that, but a lot of these companies need to post the sales right now. And then they could put it out as a 180-day receivable or whatever. And these people get incredibly good deals. And that's why many of you have become very savvy shoppers, because you wait, whatever it is, whether it's clothing or whether it's a piece of equipment, a particular piece of equipment or what have you, you wait. And there's always that, because sales in golf is just like sales in anywhere else, or the balance of the mystical, which is the 80-20 rule, where when you come out with that new product, that top 20% are going to jump in. They've got the disposable income, they've got the hope, the wherewithal. They're going to jump in at the new product. The 80% is split up amongst different categories, but a part of that is what I'm talking about, which is a very educated buyer who goes, no, I'm just going to hold off. I'm just going to wait. So yeah, I think that's interesting. I would be on board with the 82% that say the game is in a better place for all those reasons. I do wish that we saw the best players in the world together more than 4 times a year. It's harder to answer that now in the wake of the Masters, because the Masters was so darn good and was part of that good simply because it was the rare occasion we have to see the golf world reunited, if you please. Right? How much does that play into it? And if we're destined to only have the best players on the same stage 4 times a year, if that stage provides us with the Oscar-worthy drama that we saw over the last week, you know what? If it's all or that or nothing, sign me up. At least I'll take that. So it's interesting. All right, we'll take a break here because I do want to get to some sound from Scotty. I want to talk to you guys about the new rules about distance measuring devices out of the PGA Tour. Watch for it starting this week at the Corrales Punta Cana Open. Watch for it at the RBC Heritage as well. There's a new mixed team event coming to the Olympics in golf. That's something that many people have been clamoring for some time. Well, it's going to happen, and it's going to start in a few years down the road in 2028 at Riviera in Los Angeles for those Olympic Games. We get to those things and more as the Fairways of Life show continues on this Wednesday.
Head down, water down the left, bunker down the right, take the club straight back.
Wandering minds.
When golfers lose their focus, they're totally...
But Bridgestone can help.
Introducing Mindset. The ball scientifically designed to keep you focused.
First, identify your target.
Next, visualize your shot path.
And then focus on the green dot and smooth one.
Play the Tour B and E12 with Mindset technology.
You see what happens when we work together? Stuff like that.
FlightScope Mevo Plus is the ultimate indoor and outdoor golf launch monitor and simulator. It gives you the club and ball data you need with the accuracy you demand. Mevo Plus comes with ownership of simulated golf courses for you to play and practice at home. Mevo Plus is an essential golf partner to help you improve and understand your game better. Put more purpose in your practice. To learn more and get your Mevo Plus, shop now at flightscope.com.
Innovation has been at the heart of every SuperStroke grip we've ever created, cementing our status as the #1 putting grip on tour. Now the best just got better. Introducing SuperStroke Synergy, our most advanced putting grips ever, for unmatched confidence to quiet your hands and your mind. Find the perfect grip for your game at superstrokeusa.com.
Our journey began with a simple yet powerful vision to provide the world with the highest quality Virginia-type peanuts. The Hubbard Peanut Company, where quality and tradition meet to create an unforgettable experience. Visit hubspeanuts.com to explore our full range of products and place your order today.
Golf season is back, baby. Play the best rounds of your life with PXG.
I feel like dancing. I feel like dancing.
Visit pxg.com to see what we can do for your game.
I'm feeling groovy, so groovy.
PXG, you've never played like this before.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Pick up your Stride today at a local PGA Tour superstore near you or at zerofriction.com/Stride. Stride, your personal caddy.
All right, welcome back to the Fairways of Life show from the PXG Custom Studios. You've never played like this before. Log on to pxg.com and see why. So this article is from nbcsports.com/golf. PGA Tour begins allowing distance measuring devices at RBC Heritage. It's by Rex Hoggard. And he writes, observers will notice something different at this week's RBC Heritage. The post-Masters celebration will have a solid field as the season's 6th signature event. Harbortown Golf Links will again play to its diabolical best, and the winner will again rank amongst the week's best ball strikers. What will be different is subtle yet significant. There you can see the air times that Andrew's going to roll through here. The Heritage is the first event in a 4-week, 6-tournament stretch on the PGA Tour that will allow the use of distance measuring devices, DMDs, in the circuit's ongoing attempts to speed up play. The use of DMDs is part of a larger plan to address pace of play, which was singled out as an issue in the recent Fan Forward project, along with an adjustment to the Tour's policy on timings starting this week on the Corn Ferry Tour. Quote, They're going to have an extra tool in their toolbox for 4 weeks, and we're interested in hearing, following that period, how was it? Did you feel it was beneficial? Do you feel it helped you with pace of play? Said Gary Young, a senior vice president of rules and competition for the tour. Continuing, I think that's an important point to make about this. There is a beginning and an end to it. And then we're going to take that time to really cram the data and take a look at it, close quote. Players and caddies will be allowed to use DMDs, but only to identify raw distances, not slope or any other information provided by modern DMDs. Violation of the rule will result in a 2-stroke penalty. The PGA Championship, which is run by the PGA of America, already allows players to use DMDs during the tournament, and Korn Ferry Tour held a similar 4-event trial in 2017, but officials hope to learn more about how using DMDs may speed up play. Continuing to Young's comments, quote, I don't think there was anything concrete that came out of the 2017 trial data-wise. There wasn't a big improvement in round time data, but this particular group felt that field size had a lot to do with it, and especially groupings, close quote. Early this year, the tour established the Speed of Play Working Group, which includes Sam Burns, Adam Schenk, and Jonathan Vegas, to work with the Player Advisory Council on pace of play improvements. Quoting, they felt during 2-ball pairs, it would be a struggle to stay up a little bit with the group ahead of you, Young said. Should they start to fall behind, you can quickly get a reference point and calculate yardage. It also may help the groups that are being timed keep up and make up time, close quote. The DMDs trial is part of a wider pace of play focus Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan announced last month at the Players Championship. The tour will also begin testing a new policy at the Lacombe Suncoast Classic on the Korn Ferry Tour this week, and it's already started on the PGA Tour Americas. The adjustment will remove what has essentially been a warning for a bad time and will now apply a 1-stroke penalty for a first offense. Most players don't anticipate the use of DMDs to have much of an impact on pace of play, and world number 1 Scottie Scheffler suggested a more obvious approach to slow play. Quote, we've been using DMDs at the PGA the last couple of years. Is it going to help pace of play? Maybe a few minutes. Will it be anything significant? No, Scheffler said Tuesday at Harbour Town. This tournament, what affects the pace of play is walking the golf course. I think we're playing twosomes all week, so we'll go from a 5-hour round to maybe 4 hours or less. When you see the biggest changes in pace of play, it all comes from going from 3 guys to 2 guys and pairing. It's just easier to get around the golf course, close quote. Players and caddies anticipate using DMDs when dealing with shots that are well wide of playing corridors, and it's difficult to find a reference point to use a yardage book, as well as a way to confirm yardages on approach shots in tee shots and par 3s. Quoting, I envision Tom Hoagie standing on the fairway shooting with a DMD, and I'll be getting the numbers traditionally, and we'll do like we always do, said James Edmondson, Hoagie's longtime caddy. I'll use it when we're offline, but we're still going to use the fronts and backs and carries yardages in the book. If you don't do that, I think you'd get your sequence off. I think if you don't, it's going to be too different for guys. Stick with old habits, close quote. The tour plans to make a pace of play data available to the public, but officials are still developing a list that addresses average stroke time with some context. For example, if a player averages 38 seconds to hit an approach shot, but that number increases on Friday when the cut is looming or Sunday when the title is on the line. Officials expect to have the list developed within the next month or two, and it could be available to the public as early as this season. So fascinating stuff there, don't you think, about the distance measuring devices? I'm curious what you guys think about that. If you think that the players universally, and last night hosting Golf Central, I will be tonight as well. I think we're on at 10 p.m. again, Eastern time. Todd Lewis spoke to a lot of players, and it was really interesting stuff. I mean, the most powerful comments of that block, he had a whole block of players who were all like, it's not.
We lost Matt again there. You got it, Matt. You got it. That's all right. He's going to reset and fix it. He's going to reset and fix it. Here's the issue I have with what he's talking about. I don't think anything's going to work because, in my opinion, there is just nobody out there that is going to get penalized in a manner that is going to make any difference at all. I don't think there are strict enough rules across the board. I don't know, Matt, if you can hear me and you're back again, but All
Yeah,
I was
back again.
saying is that, okay, we can hear Matt again. I don't, my 2 cents are that if they want, and this goes for any sport, not just golf. If you want to make a change that makes a difference, then you need to have serious consequences. So, it's just, if they're not going to do something with serious consequences, nothing's going to change. And I think it's the same way in every sport. Like in the NBA, when someone was going in, you used to be able to hand check them. Like the defender could put their arm on their back. They started calling that. They made a rule change. And the second that arm went up, they called a foul. People were getting fouled out of games like that. They couldn't play anymore in the games. That immediately caused a shift. They didn't have a choice. They had to stop or they wouldn't be able to play in the game because they get called for a foul every time. If they want to make a change, there needs to be serious consequences for every player in the field all the time. And they don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. So it's
Just
not going
thinking
to
about
improve.
what you just
That's what I
said there,
think.
Dom. I bet Bill Lambier someplace rolled over in his easy chair when that
Yes.
roll went
No,
in.
hey, that's what it's like. I mean, I will say this. I think Ludwig Oberg is the greatest thing to ever happen. They can't even get to him on the broadcast fast enough. He hits the ball before they get to him half the time. They're like, all right, let's go down. What did Ludwig do? And they're like, well, Ludwig already hit. He's ready to go immediately every time, and he hits it right away. And if he can do it, anybody can do it.
The difference, Dom, is because you've got a young player that's a very good golfer for his age group, and you're going to see it as advances. What I have seen over the years, because I spent almost 2 decades as a chairman of a big collegiate event, and the pace that the elite players play at is getting slower. It's getting slower because of the mindset is that you have to maintain the same pre-shot routine all the time, because when you're surrounded by crushing pressure, it is the consistency of your routine that will provide you with the best chance to perform under those crushing circumstances. So from the beginning levels of the game, at least at an elite level, very good player level, a player that shows potential to develop, because those are the people that end up becoming ultimately, if they have the wherewithal, a tour player. It's starting at all those levels. So I'll be curious your observations over the next 5 to 10 years in terms of what are you seeing, what are you hearing, and is there an effort being made anywhere at that level where people are going, no, we need to make sure we maintain a pace of play as well as getting in our own little insular world to give us the best chance to perform.
Yeah, but serious consequences fix what you're talking about, in my opinion.
But this is what I'm getting at.
Immediate consequences, immediate fix. Whatever their system is, like you're talking about, they have to have their process. Well, guess what? If you get a 6-shot penalty, you're going to change your process real freaking quick so you don't get a 6-shot penalty.
Dom, the difference is, and this is what you have to understand, is that they're talking about the application of strokes as a penalty. That is a bridge, that is a divide. The LPGA Tour, the PGA Tour finds people roll their eyes. When you're trying to make a cut because you need it, because you need the money, and someone says, yeah, we need you to speed it up or it's going to be a $5,000 fine. Well, they might as well fine you $5 million, because either you got someone who has a lot of money and $5,000 is chump money to them, or you've got someone that's struggling to have any money, and finding them $5,000, you might as well fine them $5 million, because it's make or break. So they're not going to go out of their routine. I think the fact that they're going to keep data on players is going to be educational, because I've said this a million times, coming from my golf operations side, coming from the green grass side where I worked professionally, was at least on an amateur level, I haven't found too many slow players who actually know they're slow. It usually comes as a bit of a shock and an offense to them when that is presented. We see it all the time on the golf course level when a ranger says to somebody, hey, you guys need to pick it up, you need to get going, and they get all offended and start screaming and yelling and blah, blah, blah. Right? Think about that, how many times you've seen it. But when strokes are applied to professionals, Now you're starting to mess with livelihood because think about it for a second. You've got the prospect of a fine, which is a lot less than if you miss the cut. So you make the cut on the other side, and you did it because you play at a certain pace, and you do a certain rhythm, and you have a certain pre-shot routine, and you're not changing it for anybody know how. Now all of a sudden, when strokes start to get impacted, now you're talking about livelihood. And so it's a really significant development if that continues. I think the prospect of name them and shame them needs to be stronger in these programs, because even the LPGA is not releasing names. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think on the front end, what the mentality is of the tours is that no, we're just trying to work with people, we're trying to educate people, we're trying to train people, we're trying to make them aware. Well, the other players are aware. The people you're playing next to are aware. When they used to time groups, when you heard the group is on the clock, when usually it was one player that was slow within that group, which seemed very unfair. Which is again this idea of protecting those that are actually causing the problem, and we're getting closer and closer in the game in its highest tiers to going, no, we're not going to protect the guilty anymore. Right? Why do we have to do that? Why are we doing that? Because it's impacting all these other people. I do think I'm not saying that it directly impacted this decision, because I think the wheels were in motion before it, but I think the shot clock on TGL was pretty compelling and pretty interesting. And not that I think they could pump out loudspeakers with the heartbeat on at a PGA Tour event as they get under whatever. But it would be interesting if technology somehow allowed itself so that could kick in. I don't know what it would be. I don't even know how to do that. But
I recognize the strokes will make a difference, but threatening and executing are two different things.
That's true.
Like, I think it will make a big difference if it's the final round and there's a guy in the top 5 and he gets a 2-stroke penalty because it takes 4 minutes to do something. That will make a difference. But it hasn't happened yet. They're not doing that yet. Right. They're saying they're going to do these things, but I think that there's a fear, which isn't shocking, right? Especially in the upper tier, like guys in the top 25. I think there's a fear, well, we can't penalize that person because the blowback will be significant. And it's like, listen, man, if you take 3 minutes to do a thing, you should get penalty strokes. Full stop. I don't care who it is. I don't care what round it is. I don't care what's going on. It's too long. It takes too long.
Well,
it was
so one of the things I was starting to say to you before was in those comments that Todd had last night at Golf Central from players. One of them was from Lucas Glover, and his was the last bit that Todd edited into that piece, and it was fascinating. I mean, Lucas Glover, again, I'm paraphrasing, but Lucas Glover basically said, hey, this is all well and good, but it's too late. We're already going from 125 down to 100. 25 people lost their job. They should have been working on pace of play years ago. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but that was the gist. His comments were so strong, where it kind of hits home more, where someone goes, 25 people lost their job, but it's sport, right? And in the world of sport, I'm driving around up here. I'm back where I'm from. I'm listening to WFAN, and they're talking about, in this case, they're talking about the NFL and who's going to get drafted where and when and all the rest. And I was thinking to myself, professional sports is so cutthroat cold, right? And you're talking about the best of the best. And if someone else is marginally not there, they're cut loose, and you don't care because it's professional sport, right? You want the best for your team, which is interesting when you think about that in the context of Tom Brady, where if that stringent decision was made in his part, he might never have become one of the greatest quarterbacks, if not in the history of the NFL. And so when you hear a player like Lucas Glover, a major champion, a guy who's still competitive into his 40s, go, well, this whole initiative, it's great, but it's too late. 25 guys have lost their job. As a fan, do you roll your eyes and go, that's tough luck? If you're one of the 25 guys who lost your job, then make a few more putts and get inside of the top 100 so you keep your job. So it's really interesting, the flow of emotions on either side with this thing. And so anyways, I thought you guys would get a kick out of hearing that as well. I'm going to take another break here. When we come back, I do want to go over that new mixed team event at the Olympics. And could this be a sign of more of events of this sort in the game of golf? Should it be such? More of the Fairways of Life show right after this.
In Ireland, golf is more than just a game. Come and experience our world-famous links courses and our world-famous Parkland courses, all set alongside world-famous scenery. And visit our world-famous historic sites. And while you're here, enjoy our world-famous hospitality. Fill your heart with Ireland at ireland.com/golf.
Ben Hogan Golf Equipment is back. Established in 1953, we serve golfers who demand excellence of their equipment. Designed by the game's best engineers, forged in the world's best foundries, and built to order in the USA. Don't settle for off-the-rack disappointment. Elevate your game with custom clubs at direct-to-consumer pricing. Exclusively at benhogangolf.com. That's benhogangolf.com.
At PXG, we believe you get more out of your golf clubs when you're custom fitted. This ensures that every PXG club in your bag is completely dialed in to deliver maximum performance for your swing. Golfers of every skill level should go through this process, and PXG's judgment-free fittings will make sure you're completely comfortable and satisfied. Book your fitting and see what we can do for your game. PXG, you've never played like this before, period.
Innovation has been at the heart of every SuperStroke grip we've ever created, cementing our status as the #1 putting grip on tour. Now the best just got better. Introducing SuperStroke Synergy, our most advanced putting grips ever, for unmatched confidence to quiet your hands and your mind. Find the perfect grip for your game at superstrokeusa.com.
What would your ultimate golf experience be like? Just you and a friend? Or would you round up some buddies for a foursome? Just one day? Or an entire week? There's a good chance your ultimate golf experience could be Michigan's magnificent 10. 10 incredible courses set among 3 remarkable resorts. See for yourself. Book your ultimate golf experience today.
Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. You know, Hub's Peanuts has been cooking up the top 1% of peanuts for over 70 years. And these aren't your average nut. These are super extra large Virginia peanuts cooked in the USA. Family-owned Hub's Peanuts have more protein than any other nuts. So whether it's a boost on the course or a special gift, the variety of flavors guarantees Hub's Peanuts is just what you need. Family-owned, nutritious, delicious, and sustainable. Hub's Peanuts, it's just right. HubsPeanuts.com.
When you choose Newton shafts, you're choosing more than a product. You're choosing innovation, pride, and excellence right here in America. We pay attention to the minutest of details, and you can feel that in the performance of our shafts.
All right, welcome back to the Fairways of Life show. PXG Custom Studios. You've never played like this before. So this from NBCSports.com/golf. Details format revealed for mixed gender golf event at 2028 LA Olympics. This is also a Rex Hargan article, excellent writer such as he is. Golf's return to the Olympics in 2016 was largely successful, and that momentum carried over to the 2024 games in Paris. But for some, there was something missing. That something arrived Tuesday when the International Golf Federation announced the details of a mixed team event for the 28 games in Los Angeles. The format for the mixed team event will be 1 male and 1 female player who are already qualified for the individual Olympic competition in a 2-day format that will include an 18-hole foursomes, and foursomes, as you guys know, is alternate shot round, and an 18-hole 4-ball, which is best ball round. So 36 holes total. The event will be played between the men's and women's individual competition at the Riviera Country Club, and each nation will only be allowed 1 team. Golf is one of 6 sports that will add a mixed gender competition in 2028, along with archery, the 4x100 meter mixed relay, gymnastics, rowing, coastal beach sprint, and table tennis. Those are the sports that we'll be doing. I'm curious what it's going to mean with gymnastics and how they're going to integrate that with a mixed team event. And will that be separate the way it is with golf? I'm assuming that it would be, because you still need the individual medals and team medals by country, by gender, I would think. The thing that I think is interesting about this mixed event is that the word is that it's going to extend golf in terms of golf while it's active in the Olympic Games to 16 days, right? So you've got, and I was thinking about that. I know that I think it's pretty much universal now that players, even people that have been detractors back in 2016 with the whole Zika thing and all that, blah, 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 they use as an excuse. They just weren't sure if it was the thing, and then they participated in it. For example, like Rory McIlroy is a really good example. He started participating in it, and he was like, I never want to miss one of these again, golf in the Olympics. And I do think it's interesting, though, now that you're saying to the players, hey, we're going to have you play in the men's competition, then we're going to have you hang around for another 36 holes. And that's after a couple days of practice and, another half a tournament, 1.5 tournaments for the Olympics. So I'm just curious if the players are all going to be on board with that, or if they're going to be like, this was a big ass. This is a big chunk of time.
One female, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Did they announce?
1 male, 1 female.
Did they announce? Because the way it's structured now, a lot of times, a lot of countries will have 2 players, like 2 males and 2 females representing their country in certain cases. Did they decide how they're going to determine which of those players would play in the mixed event?
I haven't seen that, no.
Interesting.
But it's going to be, you're obviously going to have your as high up as you possibly can be. I assume it's going to be based upon the finishes. I don't know if it's going to be preset. Like, will they preset and go, no, it's Scottie and Nelly. We've already decided this is our team. Or is it based upon
so, like, if it's Rory and
highest...
Shane both in the Olympics and only one of them can play in the mixed event, you would just give it to the player that's higher ranked, you're saying? Most likely?
Or finishes higher. That's what I'm wondering. Or is it preset coming in?
Interesting. I'm excited about it. I love it. I love every aspect of this. I think it's great. I can't think of one bad thing.
Yeah, I'm curious with I get it with the male female teams with best ball and alternate shot. Best ball is you just go out and play your game. You're doing what you do, and whichever one of you has a better score is the score that counts. But alternate shot is where it really hits the road, because now you've got a male player and a female player playing every other shot. Like I said, I'm not sure how it would work with gymnastics. Because you've got the individual men's and individual women's and team competitions. Look it up for me, Dom. I bring it up here out of curiosity. You got the individual men's and individual women's, and you've got the countries, the teams competing. How do you do a mixed team event? Is it basically just like the countries, except the team is made up of males and females now? So it's like an ancillary. I shouldn't call it ancillary if there's going to be medals awarded for it, because that wouldn't be ancillary. But I'm just curious how you do that with a team.
It looks like they're going to be it's going to be in the artistic part of the gymnastics,
floors,
which I think is on the floor. It's not going to be like they're sharing the rings or parallel bars or whatever. It's going to be on the floor. When they're doing all the tumbles and stuff.
Will they be out on the floor at the same time?
I don't think so. There are no changes, quota spots. Each of the 3 disciplines, artistic, rhythmic, trampoline from the Paris Games.
What I'm trying to get is, how is that different than what they're doing already? It's just now they're going to be called a team that includes men and women.
It would just be a mixed gender final. That'd be the difference. It's like the U.S. team would have male and female on it in that particular event.
Because they're still obviously going to have the male team competition for the
Correct.
country. They're going to have the female the same.
Correct.
They're going to have the individuals the same. So that one's interesting to me. That one, we'll see how that one plays itself out. But so I had a great conversation. Trip Eisenhower was on with me last night on Golf Central, and he loved this idea, and he wanted to see it extended and do even more mixed team events with the top male and female golfers. Curious what you guys think about that.
You're talking about tour events during the season that are mixed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because we've got that one at the end of the season that some people pay attention to, some
Grant
don't.
Thornton Invitational, yeah.
But he wants one, like in the heart of the season.
Well, there used to be stuff for years, right? Was it the J.C. Penney was for like decades, right? I forget.
Yeah,
I
the
think that's
J.C.
what it's
Penney
called,
was
right?
actually at the Copperhead course.
Yeah, but that was
at
a
the end
mixed
of the
team thing, right?
It was, but it was also at the end of the year, so it kind of had that what they used to call silly season when they had all those events, and so it's different. What's happening now is these events are being elevated to a different level than what they were. Let's go through some air times with you here just to make sure, because I promised them to you, to make sure that we have them, and then we're going to go to Scottie Scheffler's sound that John edited together for us. RBC Heritage Thursday and Friday from 2 on Golf Channel. Saturday and Sunday it's split on Golf Channel and CBS from 1 and 3 respectively. The ESPN Plus coverage, which is PGA Tour Live, starts Thursday at 7:15 a.m., Saturday at 6:45 a.m. And remember, that is 4 different streams. Radio coverage, PGA Tour Radio, which you can hear for free on the PGA Tour app, on PGAtour.com, or if you subscribe to the National Satellite Service, Thursday through Sunday at 2 p.m. That's one thing I've mentioned this multiple times. I think if PGA Tour Live can be on early from 6:45 in the morning, why should we not be able to hear the first half of the field on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Right? Because there's already people broadcasting it. Why can't we get a piece of that on the radio side too? I think that's something they should take a look at. I'm going to keep beating that drum until somebody hears us, and maybe something can happen collectively on that. All right, so here is Scottie Scheffler, and from this, we're going to do our fade to black and wish you guys the very best. Invite you to catch me tonight at 10 p.m. Hosting Golf Central once again. And looking forward to, as always, continuing to share content with you through our Fairways of Life YouTube page in the days that lie in store. When we're together, we will be together next week. And then in the middle of next week, Dom and I and our merry band, which includes dozens and dozens of people this time, will be heading back to the Emerald Isle. We're going to be touring through Northern Ireland and through the north and west of the Republic of Ireland. It's a long trip. It's a couple weeks in duration. We're going to share it with you as we move along and putting together multiple shows for you. Oh, can't wait for that. Paul Eels, my dear friend and a member of the European Tour, winner on the European Tour, winner on the Legends Tour. He's won at every level that he's played, will be with us every step of the way. And I can't wait for that experience too, because for a lot of people that know Paul, they're going to be happy to see him again, as I will be, and Dom, I'm sure. But for people that don't know him, they're blown away when you get to hang out with a tour player and a person of that level of ability to hit shots and help you hit yours even better. So cannot wait. So until we are together again, folks, I will say goodbye and be well. And with that, send you off to Scottie Scheffler.
Well, fortunately, I had some earplugs. It's always nice when the cannon's going off. But yeah, it was definitely the first time I've also hit a tee shot while the cannon is going off. So that was a unique experience. But I was definitely glad to just be able to make contact with the ball and not embarrass myself out there. I mean, it's fun being back here in Hilton Head. This is we have some special memories here from last year's tournament, and it's good to be back in town. Like I said over there, the food's really good. It feels like a really easy week for us coming off of Augusta. I mean, the golf course is really great. It's a simple week for us. Most people are renting houses here in the community, and it's easy to get to the golf course, and I think it's a simple, calm week for us, and it's a lot of fun as well. Well, it sounds like some of us may have another opportunity to win a gold medal for our country, which is always cool. And I mean, as far as the Olympics goes, anytime you get to go and represent your country, it's a really special feeling. I haven't heard much about the format or anything like that, but a mixed team event should be fun. I don't know exactly what it will be, but I think any opportunity you can have to win a gold medal for your country will be pretty special. You're not gonna like this answer, but I kind of forgot about that. And I'll just ask Ted what he wants to do. I don't really care. He's the one who gets the number, and I'm sure we'll have it in the bag. I think And the tournaments, we've been able to use the PGA the last couple of years, haven't we? I mean, is it going to help pace of play? I mean, maybe a few minutes. Will it be anything significant? No. I think this tournament, what significantly affects the pace of play is the walkability of the golf course, and I think we're playing twosomes all week, which, I mean, it'll go from being probably a 5-hour round to maybe 4 hours or less. So I think when you see the biggest changes in pace of play, it all comes from, I think, going from 3 guys to 2 guys in a pairing. It's just easier to get around the golf course. And also the distance walking from green to tee is a big factor as well if you're going to save 15, 20 minutes off a round. And this golf course is pretty simple in terms of getting around. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. I think, like, if you get a golf course like this where it's hard to really get offline, like if you get offline, you're just in the forest, and so you're kind of just like punching out and hitting weird shots. I think sometimes on the bigger golf courses, when you get pretty far offline, it can be a little bit of a less advantage to a great caddy who maybe has a way of doing the numbers better than other caddies, and who maybe has put in the work to get numbers from certain areas. So it could take away a little bit of that, and I'm not sure if it'll have a significant impact on pace of play, but we'll see. It's something that we haven't tested out before. And so will it save a few minutes? I don't think it would hurt pace of play, but you never know. I guess my answer is we'll see what happens. But, the pace of play debate is funny. I think, people want to watch exciting golf. I think that's what it's all about. And let's say if we do all these changes and we save 20 minutes off of a round of golf, like is somebody going to sit down on the couch on Sunday and be like, well, I didn't have 5 hours to watch a round of golf, but I got 4 hours and 40 minutes. Like now I'm in. And so I think if we're going to spend a lot of our time and energy, I think where I would want to spend it is I want to get more people involved in the game of golf, more people to be able to come play. It's a great game. It's a great sport. And, you learn a lot of life lessons playing golf. And I think what's most important for me as a player, where I want to spend the most time and energy specifically in the game of golf is just getting people involved. I've met some of my best friends in the whole world playing the game of golf, and it's a really special game that I think more people should want to play. In that moment, like, it was such an emotional day for him, I kind of just tried to stay out of the way and basically just get the jacket on without embarrassing him or myself. And I got to watch the whole celebration. I watched the finish, and it was really cool for me to be able to see, because I don't have the understanding of what it's like to be asked about the career Grand Slam, but I have like a small understanding of what it's like to be asked, like, hey, you've accomplished this, but you haven't accomplished that. And it can be very, very taxing on people sometimes. So it was cool to be able to see Rory get the job done. And it was definitely, from the outside, it looked a bit more like relief than anything, because Rory, I mean, he's accomplished everything in the game of golf. And that was really the last thing for him to accomplish. I mean, the guy's won FedEx Cups, he won the Players, he's won all 4 majors. I mean, maybe the only other thing would be the Olympics is what he'd want to win. And so for him, it was really cool for me to be there in that moment. He's a good friend of mine, and be able to congratulate him and just see the joy on him and his family. It was really cool. Well, it was an exhausting week, but it takes a lot out of you to win a golf tournament emotionally. And on Sunday, I was in the tournament. It takes a little bit out of you, but I think the adrenaline you get from actually winning the tournament is a lot different than getting close. I'm sitting there in 18 fairway last week, and Rosie's was at 10 under. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going at this pin. I'm going to try and hold this. And then he makes it, and you're like, okay, well, the tournament's over. I lost. And you're kind of sitting there, and I'm like, didn't win. Yeah, lost, whatever. And I just look at Teddy, and I'm like, all right, Teddy, well, I guess I'm going to aim at the middle of the green now. He's like, yeah, aim at the middle of the green. Let's get out of here, kind of thing. And if I, like, for instance, if Rosie misses that putt and I hole it, huge adrenaline rush, and it takes something out of you, kind of like the adrenaline rush you get from getting arrested. Like that takes something out of you. And, it's so as far as being spent, I'm not nearly as spent as I was last year. Also, the party on Sunday looked slightly different than it did last night. I still had some fun with friends, but, it's just a different feeling. Like last year, for instance, we flew home and was home for a day and a half and traveled and, got in an airplane. That takes a toll on your body. And, for instance, this year, we hung out in Augusta on Sunday and drove over here yesterday, had some lunch, got some treatment, slept in today, and, I'm feeling ready to roll. I feel like whenever I see somebody win a tournament, like the feeling you get from winning a tournament is a pretty special feeling. For me, I wish it lasts longer than it did. It doesn't really last very long, but I mean, watching anybody accomplish anything in the game of golf, it takes a lot of work, and I don't really think very often about career goals or anything like that. I try to do my best to stay in the present. And was it pretty awesome watching Rory win the Grand Slam? Yeah, of course it was. But as far as my life goes, I try to stay in the present, and so right now I'm focused on this week, and then when I get home next week, I'm going to be preparing for my next tournament. And at the end of the day, I try to find my motivations all internal, and was it really cool getting to see him accomplish that? Yeah, of course. I mean, winning the career Grand Slam, I think that's something that any golfer would dream of. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to get the most out of myself, and that's about it.